Welcome back to another terrifying true story. Before we begin, I need to warn you, what you're about to hear is based on real events that took place in October 2018 at a hospital in rural Pennsylvania. The names have been changed to protect the people involved, but the events are absolutely real. Medical records, police reports, and witness testimonies all confirm what happened during those 7 horrific nights at Mercy Hospital. If you're listening to this alone at night, maybe turn on some lights. And if you work in healthcare, especially night shifts, this story might hit a little too close to home. So grab a blanket, lock your doors, and whatever you do, don't pause this video in the middle, because what happened to Sarah Mitchell might just follow you too. Let's begin. Mercy Hospital sits about 40 miles outside Pittsburgh in a small town called Millbrook, population 3,200. The kind of place where everybody knows everybody, where the high school football team is the biggest event of the week, and where secrets don't stay buried for long. The hospital itself was built in 1952, a massive 5-story brick building that looks exactly like what you'd imagine an old-fashioned hospital to look like. Gothic architecture, tall, narrow windows, and a cornerstone that reads, "In service to the sick and suffering." But here's what the cornerstone doesn't tell you. In 1963, the 4th floor was converted into a psychiatric ward. This was during the era when mental health treatment was, let's just say, less than humane. Electroshock therapy, isolation rooms, restraints, patients were often locked in their rooms for days. And then came October 31st, 1963, Halloween night. A fire broke out on the 4th floor. The official report said it was an electrical malfunction, but here's the thing. All the doors to the patient rooms were locked from the outside. Standard procedure back then, they said, to keep the patients from wandering. 47 people died that night, 32 patients ranging from age 7 to 64, 15 staff members who tried to save them. The screams could be heard all across Millbrook. People said the smoke could be seen for miles, glowing orange against the October night sky. After that, the 4th floor was closed. Cleaned up, but never used again. Too many bad memories, too much trauma, and, according to the night shift workers, too much activity. Over the years, there were reports, strange sounds, shadows in the windows of the 4th floor, cold spots, equipment malfunctioning near the sealed-off stairwell. But this is America. We're practical people. So the hospital administrators would dismiss it as old buildings settling or overactive imaginations. That is, until Sarah Mitchell's night shift in October 2018. Sarah Mitchell was 28 years old. She'd been a registered nurse for 5 years, the last 3 spent at Mercy Hospital. She was good at her job, reliable, professional. The kind of nurse who'd stay late to comfort a scared patient, who'd remember your name even if you'd only been admitted once, 2 years ago. Sarah wasn't the type to believe in ghost stories. She'd grown up in a rational, scientific household. Her father was a dentist, her mother a high school chemistry teacher. They'd taught her to look for logical explanations, to trust in what could be measured and proven. She'd heard the stories about the 4th floor, of course. Every employee had. It was part of the unofficial orientation. Don't go to the 4th floor alone. Never take the old elevator after midnight. If you hear children crying, ignore it. Sarah had laughed it off. In 3 years, she'd never had a single paranormal experience. She worked plenty of night shifts. She'd been in every part of the hospital, including walking past the sealed 4th floor entrance dozens of times. Nothing, ever. She lived alone in a small apartment in Millbrook. No pets, no roommate. Her boyfriend, Derek, was a long-haul truck driver, gone weeks at a time. Her parents lived in Ohio. She was independent, self-sufficient, and absolutely, completely rational. But rationality doesn't mean much when you're face-to-face with something that shouldn't exist. October 23rd, 2018 started like any other day for Sarah. Sarah's shift was scheduled to start at 11 p.m. She woke up around 2 in the afternoon, worked out at the local gym, grabbed dinner at the diner on Main Street, chicken club sandwich, she always got the same thing, and headed home to sleep for a few hours before her shift. But that afternoon, something unusual happened. She was at the diner eating her sandwich when an old man sat down across from her. She didn't recognize him, which was strange in a town like Millbrook. "You work at Mercy, don't you?" he asked. His voice was rough, like gravel in a tin can. Yes," Sarah replied, a little uncomfortable. "Can I help you?" The old man stared at her with watery blue eyes. "You working tonight?" "Yes." "What floor?" Now Sarah was definitely uncomfortable. "Sir, I can't discuss my schedule with—" "Stay off the 4th floor tonight," the old man interrupted. "Stay off it, you hear me? It's the anniversary." "Anniversary of what?" "The fire, October 23rd, 1963. 55 years ago today. I was there. I was a janitor, 19 years old. I heard them screaming, all of them, and every year, on this night, they scream again." Sarah felt a chill run down her spine, but she pushed it away. "Sir, the 4th floor has been closed for decades. Nobody goes up there." The old man leaned in close. She could smell coffee and cigarettes on his breath. "They'll find a way to get you up there. They always do. They're lonely, they're angry. And on this night, they're strongest." Then he stood up and walked out of the diner, leaving Sarah sitting there with her half-eaten sandwich and a growing sense of unease she couldn't quite explain. She tried to shake it off. Just a crazy old man, probably senile. But that night, as she drove to the hospital, she couldn't stop thinking about his words. "They'll find a way to get you up there." Little did she know, he was absolutely right. Sarah pulled into the Mercy Hospital parking lot at 10:47 p.m. 13 minutes early, as always. The October night was cold. A sharp wind cut through the parking lot, sending dead leaves skittering across the asphalt. The hospital loomed against the dark sky, most of its windows dark except for the emergency wing and the 2nd floor where the overnight patients were kept. But Sarah noticed something odd. The 4th floor, one of the windows was illuminated. Just one, flickering like a candle. She stopped and stared. That floor had been sealed off. No electricity except for emergency lighting, and that definitely wasn't emergency lighting. Probably just a reflection, she told herself. Moonlight on the glass. But there was no moon that night. Clouds covered the sky, promising rain. Sarah pulled out her phone and almost called security, but then she hesitated. She'd look like an idiot if it was nothing. She was already nervous because of that weird old man. She didn't want to seem paranoid. She pocketed her phone and headed inside. The night security guard, Tom, was at the front desk. Tom was 62, overweight, and spent most of his shift watching sports highlights on his phone. He barely looked up as Sarah signed in. "Quiet night?" she asked. "Dead," Tom replied, not catching his own irony. "Only got 3 patients upstairs. Car accident victim stable, hip replacement recovering, and old Mrs. Chen with pneumonia. Jenny working 2nd floor? Yeah, and Marcus is in emergency. You're on call for both floors tonight. Budget cuts, you know how it is." Sarah nodded. Being on call meant she'd be alone for most of the shift unless there was an emergency. Great. She headed to the nurses' station on the 2nd floor, passing through the familiar hallways she'd walked hundreds of times. Everything looked normal. Fluorescent lights humming, the smell of disinfectant and floor wax, the distant beep of monitors. But something felt off. The air felt heavier than usual, thicker. And was it colder than normal, or was that just her imagination? From 11 p.m. to 1 a.m., everything was routine. Sarah checked on the 3 patients, changed an IV bag, gave Mrs. Chen her medication. The old woman was sleeping peacefully, her breathing steady. Jenny, the other 2nd floor nurse, stopped by around midnight. "Hey Sarah, I'm taking my break. You good?" "Yeah, all quiet." "Cool. I'll be in the break room if you need me." And then Sarah was alone in the nurses' station, catching up on charts and paperwork. The kind of mindless work that made up so much of nursing. That's when she heard it. At first, she thought it was the building settling. Old hospitals make noise, pipes clanging, the HVAC system kicking on and off. Totally normal. But this sound, this was different. Ding. The elevator. Sarah looked up. The elevator at the end of the hallway. The doors were opening. That was weird. She hadn't heard it moving, and nobody had called it. The doors stood open. The elevator was empty, well lit, waiting. After a moment, the doors closed. Sarah went back to her paperwork, but now she was alert, listening. 5 minutes later, ding, the elevator again, doors opening, empty, waiting. This time, Sarah stood up and walked over to it. She looked inside. Standard hospital elevator. Posted capacity, 2,000 pounds Sims. Inspection certificate from September 2018. Everything normal. She pressed the door close button. The doors slid shut. The elevator didn't move. Sarah walked back to the nurse's station. She'd barely sat down when, ding. Okay, this is ridiculous, she muttered. She walked back to the elevator. This time, she stepped inside, looked at the button panel. All the floor buttons. Ground, 1, 2, 3, 5. The button for the 4th floor had been removed, just a hole where it used to be. But as Sarah stared at that hole, she felt a cold breeze coming from inside the elevator shaft, and she heard something. Faint, but definitely there. Singing. A child's voice singing a lullaby. Hush, little baby, don't say a word. Sarah backed out of the elevator quickly. The doors closed. This time, she went straight to the phone and called security. Tom, this is Sarah. The elevator on 2 is malfunctioning, keeps opening and closing. Huh. Want me to call maintenance? Nobody's here at this hour, Tom. Oh, right. Well, just use the stairs if you need to move around. I'll put in a work order for morning. Thanks. Sarah hung up, her heart beating faster than she wanted to admit. It's just a malfunction. Old elevator, happens all the time, but that singing, she tried to convince herself she'd imagined it. At 1:47 a.m., Sarah's phone rang. The caller ID showed it was Dr. Morrison, the hospital administrator. That was odd. Dr. Morrison never called in the middle of the night unless it was an emergency. Hello? Sarah, it's Dr. Morrison. Sorry to call so late. I need you to do me a favor. Of course. What do you need? We have an inspection tomorrow. Well, today, technically, at 9 a.m., State Health Board. I need a patient file from 2013, and for some reason, it's not in the digital system. The physical file should be in the old records room. Sarah's stomach tightened. The old records room, that's on the 4th floor, isn't it? There was a pause. Yes, I know that floor is closed, but you just need to go into the first room, the records room. I'll give you the access code for the door. It'll take 5 minutes, tops. Dr. Morrison, can't this wait until morning? I'm sure someone from day shift could... Sarah, the inspection is at 9 a.m. I need time to review the file before they arrive. If we fail this inspection, we could lose our accreditation. That means this hospital closes. That means everybody, including you, loses their job. He was right, of course. Mercy Hospital was the only medical facility for 40 miles. If it closed, the whole town would suffer. What's the patient name? Sarah asked, already regretting this. Richardson. Emma Richardson. Date of birth, March 15th, 1955. Should be in the cabinet marked 1960 to 1965. Sarah wrote it down, her hand trembling slightly. Okay, I'll find it. Thank you, Sarah. The access code is 1231. The door at the end of the 2nd floor hallway, the one that says authorized personnel only. That'll take you to the stairs to the 4th floor. Records room is the first door on the left. Can't miss it. Got it. Call me when you have it. Thanks again. He hung up. Sarah sat there, staring at the name she'd written down. Emma Richardson. Why did that name sound familiar? And then she remembered. The old man at the diner. He'd mentioned the fire. October 23rd, 1963. Emma Richardson would have been 8 years old in 1963. Sarah's hands went cold. She pulled up Google on her phone and typed, Mercy Hospital Fire 1963 victims. Several old newspaper articles came up. She clicked on one from the Millbrook Gazette, dated November 1st, 1963. The headline read, Tragedy at Mercy, 47 dead in psychiatric ward fire. Sarah scrolled down to the list of victims, and there it was. Emma Richardson, age 8, patient. Sarah's throat went dry. Dr. Morrison wanted the file of a girl who died in the fire. On the anniversary of the fire, this couldn't be a coincidence. She almost called him back to refuse, but then she thought about her job, her bills, her career. 5 minutes, just 5 minutes. Get the file and get out. She stood up, grabbed her flashlight. The 4th floor's electricity was reportedly unreliable, and walked toward the sealed door at the end of the hallway. The door she'd walked past 100 times and never opened. Until tonight. The door was heavy, metal, painted a dull grey. A faded sign read, "Authorized personnel only, 4th floor restricted." Sarah punched in the code, 1U31. The lock clicked. She pulled the door open. Beyond was a concrete stairwell lit by a single flickering emergency light. The air that came out was cold, much colder than it should be. Sarah could see her breath. "Just 5 minutes," she whispered to herself. "In and out." She started climbing the stairs. Each step echoed. The sound seemed to repeat endlessly, like the stairwell went on forever instead of just one floor. At the top was another door. This one had no keypad, just a simple handle. Sarah hesitated, her hand on the cold metal. She could still turn back. She could call Dr. Morrison and tell him to get the file himself. But she thought about that old man's words. "They'll find a way to get you up there." Was this it? Was this how they did it? "Stop it," she told herself firmly. "You're a scientist, a medical professional. There's no such thing as ghosts." She turned the handle and pushed the door open. The 4th floor stretched out before her. The hallway was long, lined with doors on both sides. Patient rooms, she assumed. The floor was old linoleum, cracked and yellowed with age. The walls had once been white, but were now a sickly beige, stained with water damage and time. The lighting was dim, just a few emergency lights casting a greenish glow. Shadows filled the spaces in between, and it was cold, so cold. Sarah pulled her cardigan tighter around herself. The records room was supposed to be the first door on the left. She walked toward it, her footsteps echoing. That's when she noticed something odd. The floor was dusty. Clearly nobody had been up here in years, but there were marks in the dust. Wheel tracks, like someone had pushed a wheelchair down this hallway. Recently, Sarah's rational mind tried to explain it. Maybe maintenance came up here. Maybe creak, creak, creak. The sound came from behind her. Sarah spun around. At the far end of the hallway, barely visible in the dim light, something was moving. A wheelchair, rolling slowly toward her. But nobody was pushing it. Nobody was in it. It was moving on its own. Sarah's breath came in short, sharp gasps. Her heart hammered in her chest. The wheelchair kept coming, slowly, steadily, creak, creak, creak. Every rotation of the wheels echoed through the empty hallway. Sarah wanted to run. Every instinct screamed at her to turn and flee back down the stairs. But she was frozen, paralyzed, watching this impossible thing happen right in front of her. The wheelchair rolled past room 404, room 405, room 406, getting closer. And then, when it was about 20 feet away from Sarah, it stopped. Just stopped. The hallway was silent, except for Sarah's ragged breathing. She stared at the wheelchair. It was old, probably from the 1960s. Metal frame, worn leather seat. One of the wheels was slightly bent, which explained the creaking sound. "It's just a draft," Sarah said out loud, her voice shaky. Old building, uneven floors, it rolled on its own. But there was no draft. The air was completely still, and the floor, Sarah could see, slanted slightly downward, away from where the wheelchair had come from. If it was rolling due to gravity, it would have rolled the other direction. Sarah forced herself to move. She had to get the file and get out of here. Now. She turned toward the records room, reaching for the door handle. Crash! Behind her, the wheelchair had slammed into the wall. Sarah whipped around. The wheelchair was now on its side, wheels still spinning slowly. Okay, that's it, I'm done," Sarah muttered. She yanked open the records room door, flashlight in hand, determined to grab the file and run. The records room was exactly what she expected. Metal filing cabinets lined the walls. Boxes stacked in corners. Dust everywhere. The smell of old paper and mildew. Sarah went straight to the cabinet, marked 1960 to 1965, and pulled it open. Her flashlight beam scanned the files. Richardson, there, Richardson, Emma. She grabbed the file and opened it, just to make sure it was the right one. The file contained medical records, admission forms, treatment notes, all dated 1963. There was a photo clipped to the first page. A little girl, maybe 8 or 9, dark hair in pigtails, big brown eyes, a shy smile. Emma Richardson. Below the photo, in neat handwriting, admitted October 15th, 1963. Diagnosis: childhood schizophrenia. Symptoms: hallucinations, night terrors, claims to see the dead people. Sarah felt a wave of sadness. This poor child, locked in a psychiatric ward in the 1960s, when they didn't know how to properly treat mental illness in children. And then, 16 days after her admission, she died in the fire. Sarah was about to close the file when she noticed something at the bottom of the page. A note, handwritten in different ink, like it had been added later. Patient claims the dead people are trying to warn her. She says there will be a fire. She says they told her. She says we're all going to die. Dr. Ashford, October 29, 1963. The date of that note was October 29th. 2 days before the fire, Emma had predicted it. Sarah's hands started shaking. This was getting too weird, too creepy. She slammed the file shut and turned to leave. The door was closed. Sarah's heart sank. She distinctly remembered leaving it open. She walked over and tried the handle. Locked. No, she muttered, pulling harder. The door didn't budge. She pounded on it. Hello, someone help, I'm locked in. No response. Of course not. The 4th floor was sealed. Nobody would hear her up here. She pulled out her phone. No signal. The concrete and metal of the old building must be blocking it. Sarah was truly trapped. She took a deep breath, trying to stay calm. Think. There has to be another way out. Maybe a window? She looked around the room. There was one window, but it was small, high up on the wall, and painted shut. Sarah was scanning the room for any other options when she felt it. A breath on the back of her neck. Warm. Humid. Like someone was standing right behind her. Breathing. Sarah didn't want to turn around. Every fiber of her being screamed not to turn around, but she had to know. Slowly, so slowly, she turned. A little girl stood there. She was wearing a hospital gown, the old-fashioned kind, white and shapeless. Her dark hair hung in 2 pigtails. It was Emma Richardson. Exactly as she looked in the photo, except her skin was pale, too pale, almost translucent. And her eyes were completely black. No whites, no iris, just pure, endless black. Sarah tried to scream, but no sound came out. Emma tilted her head, studying Sarah like she was a curious puzzle. You shouldn't be here, Emma said, but her mouth didn't move. The voice came from everywhere and nowhere. Sarah finally found her voice. I just need to leave. Please, just let me leave. Emma smiled. It wasn't a cruel smile. It was almost sad. You came for my file, Emma said. Why? My boss. He asked me to get it. For an inspection. I didn't mean to disturb you. Disturb me? Emma laughed. It sounded like wind chimes. You can't disturb the dead, Sarah. How do you know my name? We've been watching you, all of us. Every time you walk past the door downstairs, every night you work. We've been waiting. Waiting for what? Emma's smile faded. For someone who would listen. Someone who would help us. Help you? Help you with what? To tell our story. To let people know what really happened. They said it was an accident. The fire. They lied. Sarah's mind was reeling. She was having a conversation with a ghost. A dead child. This couldn't be real. She must be dreaming. Or hallucinating. Maybe there was a gas leak up here, making her see things. I know what you're thinking, Emma said. You think you're going crazy. You're not. This is real. I'm real. And what happened to us, that was very real. The fire, Sarah whispered. It wasn't an accident. Emma shook her head. They locked us in. We were screaming, banging on the doors, but they wouldn't let us out. The staff. They ran. They saved themselves and left us to burn. That's horrible. But I can't. What can I do? It was 55 years ago. You can tell the truth. You can make sure people know we didn't die because of faulty wiring. We died because we were locked in like animals, because they thought we were crazy, and crazy people didn't matter. Sarah felt tears running down her face. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry that happened to you. Emma's expression softened. I believe you, but Sarah, I'm not the one you need to worry about. What do you mean? Most of us, the children, we just want to be remembered. We want someone to acknowledge our suffering. But some of the others... Emma looked toward the door, fear flickering across her face. Some of them are angry. They've been angry for 55 years, and tonight, on the anniversary, they're strongest. They don't want to tell stories, they want revenge. They want someone to feel what they felt. Emma, what are you saying? I'm saying you need to leave, now, before they... Emma suddenly vanished, just disappeared. The temperature in the room dropped even further. Sarah could see her breath coming in thick white clouds. And then she heard it. Footsteps. In the hallway outside, lots of them. Walking, running, shuffling. And voices. Moaning, crying, screaming. The door handle started to rattle. Something was trying to get in. Sarah backed away from the door, clutching Emma's file to her chest like it could protect her. The door handle rattled more violently. Then the door began to bulge inward, like something was pushing against it with enormous force. The metal actually bent. This was impossible. This was breaking every law of physics. But it was happening. With a sound like tearing metal, the door ripped off its hinges and crashed to the floor. The hallway beyond was dark. The emergency lights had gone out. But Sarah could see figures, silhouettes, standing in the darkness. So many of them, men, women, children, elderly, all wearing hospital gowns, all with those same black eyes. They stared at Sarah in silence. Then, as one, they stepped forward. Sarah screamed. She looked around frantically. The window. It was her only chance. She grabbed a metal filing cabinet drawer and threw it at the window with all her strength. The glass shattered. Without thinking, without looking, Sarah grabbed the window frame and pulled herself up. The opening was small, but she was slim and terror gave her strength. She squeezed through, cutting her arms on the broken glass, and found herself on a fire escape she hadn't even known was there. Behind her, she heard the sound of many feet entering the records room. Sarah ran down the fire escape, taking the metal stairs 2 at a time. Her heart was pounding so hard, she thought it might burst. 3rd floor, 2nd floor, 1st floor. She jumped the last few feet to the ground, stumbled, fell, got back up, and ran to the parking lot. She could see Tom through the window of the security booth, still staring at his phone, completely unaware. Sarah reached her car, fumbling for her keys. Her hands were shaking so badly she could barely get the key in the lock. She finally got the door open and threw herself inside, slamming the locks down. Only then did she look up at the hospital. Every window on the 4th floor was lit up, and in every window stood a figure, watching her. As Sarah watched, frozen in terror, the figures all raised one hand and waved. Sarah started her car and drove. She didn't stop until she was home, 20 minutes away, where she locked herself in her bathroom and cried until dawn. Sarah didn't sleep that night. She couldn't. She sat in her bathroom, lights blazing, with her phone in her hand. She wanted to call someone, the police, Derek, her parents, anyone. But what would she say? I saw ghosts at the hospital. They'd think she was crazy. Maybe she was crazy. As the sun rose, Sarah examined herself in the bathroom mirror. She looked awful, pale, dark circles under her eyes. And her arms were cut and bleeding from the broken window. She cleaned and bandaged the cuts, then sat on her couch, staring at nothing. Around 8 a.m., her phone rang. Dr. Morrison. She almost didn't answer, but then she thought he'd sent her up there. He'd asked for Emma Richardson's file. Did he know? Did he know what was up there? She answered. Hello? Sarah, thank God. I've been calling you since 2 a.m. What happened? Did you get the file? Sarah's voice was flat. What happened is I got trapped in the records room. The door locked behind me. And then things happened. Strange things. There was a long pause. Sarah, what are you talking about? The 4th floor, Dr. Morrison. You sent me up there on the anniversary of the fire, the anniversary of when Emma Richardson died. Did you know? Know what? Sarah, you're not making sense. The ghost, the spirits, whatever the hell they are, did you know they'd be there? Another long pause, then Dr. Morrison's voice, very careful. Sarah, I think you should take the day off. Maybe see a doctor. You sound very stressed. I'm not crazy. I didn't say you were, but something clearly happened that upset you. Did you hit your head? Carbon monoxide can cause hallucinations, and that floor has been sealed for... I didn't imagine it. It was real. Okay. We'll talk about this later. Right now, I need to know. Did you get the Emma Richardson file? Sarah looked down. In all the chaos, she'd somehow managed to hold on to it. It was sitting on her coffee table. Yes, she said quietly. Can you drop it off before the inspection at 9? You're kidding. Sarah, I know you're upset, but this inspection is crucial. Just drop it at the front desk. You don't even have to come in, please. Sarah closed her eyes. She wanted to refuse. She wanted to tell him to go to hell, but she was so tired, too tired to argue. Fine, I'll drop it off. She hung up. Sarah drove to Mercy Hospital in a daze. She planned to literally just drop the file at the front desk and leave. But when she arrived, Tom called out to her. Sarah, hey, you okay? You look terrible. I'm fine. Dr. Morrison said you had some kind of incident last night, said you got locked in the 4th floor. So Dr. Morrison had told people. Great. Yeah, something like that. Tom lowered his voice. Between you and me, I'm not surprised. That floor is messed up. I've worked here 12 years, and I've heard things, especially on October 23rd. Sarah looked at him sharply. You've heard things? Like what? Noises. From behind the sealed door, crying, screaming. One year, I swear I heard someone singing. And the elevator goes crazy every year on this day. Opens and closes on its own. Why didn't anyone tell me this before I went up there? Tom shrugged. Dr. Morrison don't like us talking about it. Says it's bad for morale. Plus, most people don't believe it. They think we're making it up. I believe you, Sarah said. I believe every word. Tom nodded slowly. You saw something up there, didn't you? Before Sarah could answer, a voice interrupted. Excuse me, are you Sarah Mitchell? Sarah turned. An elderly woman stood there, probably in her 70s, with white hair and sharp green eyes. She was dressed professionally, carrying a briefcase. Yes? My name is Margaret Chen. I'm an archivist with the Pennsylvania Historical Society. I'm here for the state inspection, and I understand you retrieved a file from the 4th floor archives. Yes, Emma Richardson. Sarah held out the file. Margaret took it, but her eyes stayed on Sarah. You went up there? To the 4th floor? Last night? Yes. Margaret's expression changed, became intense. And did you experience anything unusual? Sarah hesitated, but something about this woman made her feel like she could be honest. Yes, I saw things, people who shouldn't be there. Margaret nodded, like this was exactly what she expected. I need to speak with you, privately. It's very important. Lady, I don't know who you are, but I'm not from the health board, Margaret interrupted. That was a lie to get access to the hospital. I'm actually a paranormal researcher. I've been studying Mercy Hospital for 30 years. And you, Sarah Mitchell, might be the first person who encountered the 4th floor spirits and survived to tell about it. Sarah's mouth fell open. You're what? Please, just give me 30 minutes. There's a coffee shop across the street. I need to tell you what's really going on here. Because I think you're in danger. Serious danger. 20 minutes later, Sarah and Margaret were sitting in a booth at Millbrook Coffee, each with a cup they weren't drinking. Margaret opened her briefcase and pulled out a worn folder. I'm going to tell you a story, Margaret said, and I need you to listen to the whole thing before you decide I'm insane. Sarah almost laughed. After last night, I'm pretty sure you're the most sane person I've talked to. Margaret smiled grimly. Good. So, October 31st, 1963, the fire at Mercy Hospital. The official story is electrical malfunction, but that's not what happened. She opened the folder and spread out documents, old newspaper clippings, photos, handwritten notes. What really happened was this. One of the patients on the 4th floor, a man named David Krause, he attacked a nurse, badly. She ended up in critical condition. The staff panicked. They locked down the entire floor, all the patient room doors, the main floor access door, everything. Their plan was to keep everyone contained until police arrived. But then there was a fire, Sarah said. Not exactly. The fire didn't just happen. David Krause started it. He was in his locked room, and somehow he managed to break the light fixture and use the wiring to start a fire. Whether it was intentional or accidental, we don't know. Margaret pulled out a photo. It showed the 4th floor after the fire, charred and destroyed. The fire spread fast. The patients were screaming. The staff tried to get them out, but in the panic, they couldn't find all the keys. Some doors wouldn't open because the locks had warped from the heat. And the staff, they had a choice: stay and die trying to save people, or run. Most of them ran, Sarah whispered her. 15 didn't. 15 staff members died trying to save the patients, and 32 patients died, many of them children. Sarah felt sick. That's horrible. It gets worse. The hospital administrators, they knew the truth would destroy them. Knew they'd be sued, shut down, possibly face criminal charges, so they covered it up, paid off investigators, claimed it was electrical, buried the real story. How do you know all this? Margaret's eyes filled with tears. Because my mother was one of the nurses who died that night. Her name was Alice Chen. She was 23 years old. She stayed behind trying to get children out. She saved 6 before the smoke got her. Oh my God, I'm so sorry. I've spent 30 years researching that night, interviewing survivors, the few remaining ones, digging through archives, and I've documented something else. Every year on October 23rd, there's activity, paranormal activity, lights in the 4th floor windows, sounds, and people who go up there, they see things. The ghosts of the people who died, Sarah said. Yes, they're trapped there, reliving their final moments, unable to move on because the truth was never told. Their deaths were never acknowledged properly. They were swept under the rug like they didn't matter. Sarah thought about Emma, about what she'd said. We just want to be remembered. So what do I do? Sarah asked. Emma, one of the children, she said they want their story told. She said I could help. Margaret leaned forward. Then we tell it. I have evidence, documents, testimony. But what I don't have is a recent witness, someone credible, a medical professional who experienced the phenomena firsthand. If you're willing to go on record... Yes, Sarah said immediately. Whatever you need. Those people deserve justice. Margaret smiled. Thank you, but I have to warn you, the hospital administration won't like this. Dr. Morrison, the board of directors, they'll do everything they can to discredit you. Your job might be at risk. Sarah thought about it, about Emma, about the 46 other souls trapped on that floor. I don't care. It's the right thing to do. Good. Then we start today. I want you to write down everything you experienced last night, every detail, and then... Margaret hesitated. Then what? Then I need you to go back up there, one more time, with me and a camera, to document everything. Sarah's blood went cold. You want me to go back to the 4th floor? I know it's asking a lot, but Sarah, this might be our only chance. The spirits are strongest on the anniversary. That's today. If we can capture evidence, real documented evidence, we can finally tell the truth. Every instinct told Sarah to refuse, to never go near that place again. But she thought about Emma's eyes, the sadness in them. Okay, Sarah said, I'll do it, but we need help. We can't do this alone. I have a team, paranormal investigators. We've been waiting for permission to investigate for years. If you can get us access... Tom, Sarah said, the security guard, he believes. He'll help us. Margaret nodded. Then let's do this. Tonight, midnight, we go in and we document everything. We get the evidence we need to tell the world what really happened at Mercy Hospital. Sarah took a shaky breath. Tonight, she had no idea what she was agreeing to. Sarah spent the rest of the day at Margaret's hotel room, writing down everything she remembered from the previous night. Every detail, every sound, every terrifying moment. Margaret's team arrived around 6 p.m. There were 3 of them. Jackson, a tech specialist who handled cameras and audio equipment. He was in his 30s, covered in tattoos, with a surprisingly calm demeanor. Patricia, a psychic medium. Sarah was skeptical about this, but Margaret insisted Patricia had genuine abilities. She was a soft-spoken woman in her 50s. And David, a former priest who now specialized in spiritual interventions. He was in his 60s, with kind eyes and a steady presence that Sarah found comforting. They set up in the hotel room, going over plans and equipment. Standard procedure, Jackson explained. We'll have 4 cameras. Full spectrum, can capture things the naked eye can't see. Audio recorders, EMF detectors to measure electromagnetic fields. Thermal cameras to detect cold spots. And if things get dangerous, Sarah asked, David spoke up. That's where I come in. I have experience with malevolent entities. I know how to protect us spiritually and, if necessary, how to perform a cleansing. Patricia had been quiet, but now she spoke. Sarah, can I hold your hand? Why? I need to read you, to understand your connection to the spirits. Hesitantly, Sarah extended her hand. Patricia took it, closed her eyes. After a moment, Patricia gasped. Her eyes flew open. They've marked you, she said. What? What does that mean? The spirits. They've connected to you. You're not just a witness anymore. You're linked. They can sense you, find you. Sarah felt cold. Is that why Emma was able to talk to me? Yes, you're sensitive. More open than most people to their frequency. It's rare. It's also dangerous. Can we unlink me? Once we help them find peace, the connection will fade. But until then... Patricia looked troubled. Until then, you need to be careful. Don't go anywhere alone, especially not at night. Sarah thought about her apartment. The idea of being there alone suddenly terrified her. You can stay here, Margaret offered, reading Sarah's expression. We got a 2-bedroom suite. You're not going home until this is over. Sarah nodded gratefully. At 11 p.m., they packed up the equipment and drove to Mercy Hospital. Tom was waiting at the front entrance. He looked nervous. Dr. Morrison left at 7, Tom said. Night shift is minimal, just one nurse in emergency, one on 2nd floor. They won't bother you if you stay on the 4th floor. You're absolutely sure about this, Tom? Margaret asked. My grandmother died in that fire, Tom said quietly. She was a patient. I've wanted the truth told my whole life. So yeah, I'm sure. He handed Margaret a key. This opens the 4th floor access door. You've got till 6 a.m. That's when day shift starts arriving. Thank you, Tom. The team gathered their equipment and headed inside. Sarah led them to the access door at the end of the 2nd floor hallway. The same door she'd gone through last night. Was it really only last night? It felt like a lifetime ago. Margaret unlocked the door. The same cold air rushed out. High EMF readings already, Jackson muttered, checking his equipment. This is a hot spot for sure. They climbed the stairs. Sarah's heart was pounding. Every step felt like walking toward her own execution. At the top, they paused before the door to the 4th floor. Patricia put a hand on the door and immediately pulled back. They know we're here. They're waiting. Waiting to attack us? Sarah asked. No, waiting to see what we'll do. They're curious, but also cautious. They've been hurt before, lied about. They don't trust easily. David pulled out a Bible and a small bottle of what Sarah assumed was holy water. I'll go first. If there's any danger, get behind me immediately. Margaret looked at her team. Everyone ready? They nodded. Sarah took a deep breath. Let's do this. Margaret opened the door. The 4th floor looked different than it had last night. The emergency lights were on, providing more illumination. Sarah could see details she'd missed before. The walls were covered in old, faded artwork. Children's drawings, stick figures, houses, families, drawings by the young patients who died here. The wheelchair was still there, lying on its side where it had crashed. Jackson immediately started setting up cameras at different points in the hallway. Patricia stood in the center, eyes closed, hands out. There are so many of them, Patricia whispered. I can feel them, watching us. They're scared, but also hopeful. Can you communicate with them? Margaret asked. I can try, but Sarah... They want Sarah. She's the one they've connected with. Everyone looked at Sarah. Me? What do I do? Patricia opened her eyes. Talk to them, like you did with Emma. Tell them why we're here. Sarah felt ridiculous, but she stepped forward. Hello, my name is Sarah Mitchell. We met last night. Some of you, anyway. I'm here because I want to help. We want to help. We want people to know the truth about what happened to you, about the fire, about how you died. You deserve to have your story told. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, one by one, the lights began to flicker. The temperature dropped sharply, and Jackson's EMF detector went crazy, beeping rapidly. We've got activity, Jackson said, his voice excited. Massive spikes. Cameras are recording. A sound echoed through the hallway. Footsteps, coming from multiple directions. Sarah's breath caught as figures began to appear. just like last night. Men, women, children, in hospital gowns, translucent, glowing slightly, but this time they weren't threatening. They were just there, watching. "Oh my God," Margaret whispered. "Are you seeing this?" "Cameras are getting it," Jackson confirmed. This is incredible." Patricia stepped forward. "We mean you no harm. We're here to listen, to record your truth, to help you." One figure stepped forward from the group, an adult woman, maybe in her 30s. When she spoke, her voice echoed from everywhere at once. "They said we were crazy. They said we didn't matter. When the fire came, they left us to die." Margaret's voice was choked with emotion. "My mother stayed. Alice Chen. She tried to save you." The woman's expression softened. "Alice, yes. We remember Alice. She saved my daughter. Got her to the window. Firefighters caught her. My Sarah lived because of Alice." Margaret gasped. "Your daughter's name was Sarah?" "Yes, she survived. She was 8. She'd be 63 now." "I'm named after her," Sarah realized. "My mother, her name is Sarah too, Sarah Martinez. She was adopted. She never knew her birth family." The spirit woman's eyes filled with tears. "Martinez, yes, the family who took her, gave her a good life. I watched over her, best I could, and now you're here, my granddaughter." Sarah felt like the world was tilting. You're my grandmother?" "Yes, child. My name was Mary Chen. Alice and I, we were sisters. That's why Alice came back for my Sarah. That's why she died, saving family." Margaret's knees buckled. David caught her. Then you're my aunt. We're family." Mary nodded. "Family, yes, and you've come to help us, finally." Another spirit stepped forward, a man older with kind eyes. "My name was Dr. Ashford. I was a physician here. I tried to tell them the fire safety was inadequate, that locking the patients in was inhumane. They fired me. I came back that night to protest. I died trying to get children out." More spirits came forward, each telling their story. A young nurse who'd been on her first day, a janitor who'd run into the flames to help, an elderly patient who'd been admitted for depression and died terrified and alone, and finally, Emma. The little girl stepped out from behind the others. In this group, surrounded by her fellow victims, she looked less frightening, just sad. "Emma," Sarah said softly, "thank you for warning me last night." "The others were angry," Emma said. "They wanted to scare you, make you feel what we felt. But I told them you were different, that you would help. Was I right?" "Yes," Sarah said firmly. "We're going to make sure everyone knows what happened. No more lies, no more cover-ups, I promise." Emma smiled, a real smile. "Thank you." The spirits began to fade slightly, and Patricia suddenly looked alarmed. "Wait, something's wrong. There's another presence here, something darker." The temperature plummeted even further. The lights began to flicker violently. All the spirits of the victims suddenly looked frightened. They began backing away, retreating down the hallway. "What's happening?" Sarah asked. Emma looked at her with wide eyes. "It's him, David Krause, the one who started the fire. He's here too. He's been here all along. But he's not like us. He's angry, so angry, and he doesn't want the truth told." A door at the far end of the hallway, room 447, began to rattle. The sound was deafening. David the priest stepped forward, holding up his cross. "In the name of God, I command you to..." The door exploded off its hinges. A figure emerged, tall, muscular, with wild eyes. His hospital gown was burned and tattered. His skin looked charred. This was David Krause. When he spoke, his voice was like gravel and smoke. "Get out. This is my place. They're mine. You can't have them." "You don't own them," Patricia said, her voice shaking but firm. "They're not yours. They never were. They died because of me. They're mine forever." The malevolent spirit raised his arms, and all the doors along the hallway began slamming open and shut. The wheelchair flew through the air, crashing into the wall near Jackson. "We need to get out," Jackson yelled. "No," Margaret shouted. "We can't leave. This is our chance." David Krause's spirit began moving toward them, and the very air seemed to darken around him. David the priest stepped between the spirit and the group. "You have no power here. These people died as victims. You died as a murderer. You don't get to control them anymore. I'll kill you all, just like I killed them." The spirit rushed forward, and David threw holy water. The water hit the spirit and it screamed, a sound so horrible that Sarah clapped her hands over her ears. The spirit recoiled, smoke rising from where the water had touched. "It's working!" David shouted. "Everyone, with me te! Our Father, who art in heaven!" The whole team joined in the prayer, even Jackson and Sarah, who weren't particularly religious. As they prayed, the spirit of David Krause began to weaken, to fade, and the other spirits, the victims, they began to come forward again. Emma stood right in front of the angry spirit. "You don't scare us anymore. We're not locked in with you. You're locked in with us, and we're ready to go. We're ready to be free. But you're staying here, alone, forever." The other spirits joined her, forming a circle around David Krause. The malevolent spirit screamed in rage, but he couldn't break through the circle. Mary, Sarah's grandmother, spoke. "We forgive you for what you did, but we don't forget, and we don't let you win. Goodbye, David." The circle of spirits began to glow, brighter and brighter, and David Krause's spirit began to sink into the floor, screaming, clawing, but unable to escape. Within moments, he was gone. The hallway was silent. The remaining spirits turned to face the team. Mary spoke first. "Thank you. We've been trapped with him for 55 years. His anger, his hatred, it kept us all here. But now we can go." "Wait," Margaret said, tears streaming down her face. "I have so many questions about my mother, about—" "Alice is waiting for me," Mary said gently. "On the other side. She's been waiting all this time, but she wanted me to tell you she's proud of you. She's always been proud of you, and she loves you." Margaret sobbed. "I love her too. Tell her I never forgot her. She knows." One by one, the spirits began to fade, but unlike before, this fading was different. Peaceful. They were smiling. Emma was the last to go. She looked at Sarah. "Will you really tell our story?" "I promise." "Thank you, Sarah. Maybe in another life, we could have been friends." "We are friends," Sarah said. "Right now. We're friends." Emma's smile was radiant. "Goodbye, friend." And then she was gone. The hallway was empty. The cold was gone. The oppressive feeling was gone. It felt quiet, still, at peace. Jackson checked his equipment. "I got everything, every second. Video, audio, thermal readings, EMF spikes. This is the most documented paranormal event in history." Margaret wiped her eyes. "Then let's make sure the world sees it. Let's tell their story." The documentary premiered 6 months later. Margaret had compiled everything: the historical evidence, the cover-up documents, Jackson's footage from that night, and Sarah's testimony. It was called The Truth About Mercy, the Fourth Floor. It went viral. Within weeks, Mercy Hospital was forced to respond. There was an investigation. The State Health Board got involved, even the FBI, for the cover-up aspect. Dr. Morrison resigned. The board of directors was replaced. Lawsuits were filed by families of the victims. But most importantly, a memorial was erected. On the hospital grounds, a beautiful monument listing all 47 names of those who died on October 31st, 1963. Every October 31st, there's now a ceremony. Families come, the town remembers. The fourth floor of Mercy Hospital was renovated. It's now a peaceful meditation garden, enclosed but with skylights. Plants grow there. It's beautiful. And there's been no paranormal activity since that night. Sarah quit working at Mercy, but she stayed in nursing. She and Margaret became close. They were family after all. Sarah also connected with her birth mother, the Sarah who'd been saved from the fire. It was an emotional reunion. Her birth mother had never known what happened to her biological mother, Mary. But now she knew, and she knew that Mary had loved her enough to ensure she was saved. As for Sarah Mitchell herself, she still sometimes thinks about Emma, about that little girl who just wanted to be remembered, and she thinks about the old man at the diner who'd tried to warn her. She never saw him again. She'd asked around town, but nobody knew who she was talking about. Tom had a theory, though. He showed her a photo from the fire aftermath, emergency responders treating survivors. In the background, barely visible, was a young janitor, 19 years old according to the caption. He had the same watery blue eyes. Sarah still doesn't know if she believes it. but she likes to think that maybe, just maybe, he was one of the good ones who died that night. Still trying to warn people, still trying to help. The fourth floor is quiet now, the spirits are at rest. But sometimes, on October 23rd, if you visit the memorial, some people say they can feel a presence. Not frightening, not angry, just grateful. As for whether Sarah Mitchell believes in ghosts now, let's just say she's learned that there's more to this world than what we can see and measure. Some things are real, even if they shouldn't be. Some stories need to be told, even if no one wants to hear them. And some promises, once made, must be kept, even if it means facing your worst fears, even if it means confronting the impossible. Because in the end, we're all just looking for the same thing. To be remembered, to matter, to have our truth acknowledged. The spirits of Mercy Hospital finally have that. And Sarah Mitchell, she can finally sleep at night. Well, most nights, because sometimes, just sometimes, when she's alone in the dark, she hears it. Faint, distant. But there, thank you, friend. And Sarah smiles. You're welcome, Emma. Thanks for watching. If this story kept you up at night, subscribe for more true horror stories. And remember, some hospitals have more than just patients in their rooms. Some have stories that demand to be told. Good night, and sleep well, if you can.